Welcome to the Retaining WIT podcast. I'm Josie Haynes.
And I'm Jordanna Kwok.
This show tackles the challenges of keeping women in tech.
Each episode, we discuss current events, experiences in the industry, and what it takes to create a workplace where women will thrive.
Today on the Retaining WIT podcast, we're very excited to be chatting with Nidhi Gupta, CEO and co-founder of Divhersity. Thank you, Nidhi, for joining us today.
Thank you, Jossie and Jordanna. Excited to be here and excited to be talking about diversity.
It's so great to have you on the show. To get started, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your tech journey?
Oh, yeah. So it's been an interesting journey. I started my tech career, for more years than I want to count, back in 1995. And I started as an engineer, as an entry-level engineer. And through the course of my career, I eventually got into engineering management and progressed into, engineering executive roles. And as I continued my journey on the executive leadership track, I expanded my role to cover, my scope expanded beyond engineering, so engineering, product, data, IT, and operations. Most of my career has been in in startups. And my last corporate role was as the chief product officer at a company called Hired. That's really where I found my mission. And today I'm the CEO and co-founder of Divhersity.
That's wonderful. Josie and I are members of the diversity community, and this is how we ended up reconnecting to relaunch this podcast. Can you tell our listeners more about diversity and what it is and why you started it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just like the two of you met, that is the magic of diversity. That is how connecting fellow female leaders with each other is fundamentally core to our mission. So my mission with my thinking around diversity started when I was at Hired. Hired is a platform it's a wage transparent platform for you to find your next software engineering job. And because we were exposed to salary and wage data firsthand, we could see firsthand the significant disparities in salaries between what men versus women got paid for the same role at the same company. While I was at Hired, this was a few years ago, I got invited to a private dinner for CTOs. I had a very busy day at work, and I essentially didn't even look at the guest list, and I showed up. And I guess subconsciously, I just assumed I'd be walking into a room full of men. And I walk in, and to my utter shock and disbelief, I ended up walking into a room full of women. There were 15 other women, female CTOs, all under the same roof, and all lived in the Bay Area, some of them a stone's throw from my house in Los Altos. And I was shocked. And I think that's really when it hit me as to if I, having been in the industry for as long as I have, been in executive roles for more than 20 years, if I didn't know of 15 other female CTOs, then what was wrong with this picture? So I set out to seek data as to, how many of people like me existed in this industry. And I came across a Gartner study which said that less than 9% of engineering exec roles are held by women. Let that sink in for a second. We hear so much about underrepresentation of women in other fields, like in other areas such as boards. But engineering exec roles is 9%. That's really when I knew that I had to do something about this. I met with my co-founder, Heather, and the two of us got talking, and that's how diversity was born. So today, diversity's mission, simply put, is just to change that metric. We want to move that 9% engineering exec role metric upwards and close the gender gap.
That's an amazing ambition. And I love that you've started Divhersity because it's been a great community to meet other folks. So I'm curious, what's your grand vision? Where do you see Divhersity going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think if I had my crystal ball, I would say, bring some parity to this vast gender gap that we see. So I think that's my North Star. But my goal with diversity is twofold. One is to accelerate careers of our members, and second is to build their high powered network. So, with regards to the high powered network, just like the two of you met and the two of you got inspired to rekindle and restart this podcast, that is what we want with our community. So, women in general are incredibly poorly networked because we have busy jobs and busy home lives, and we more often than not do not have the energy or the time to expend in networking. So, diversity community is that high powered network for our women. So, my hope is that today and in the future, over the next 4 or 5 years, as women continue to grow and thrive in their careers, they continue to lean on this network and leverage this network to grow and thrive in their careers. And they use some of our programs that we offer to accelerate their careers, to rise and shine in their careers. And as our leaders grow, rise and shine, and become more visible in the industry, we inspire the next generation of women to enter the industry, stay in the industry, and over time, they aspire for these higher roles.
Nidhi, love what you're doing with diversity and your ambitions here. I'm curious, what are some of the things you've seen from opening this community? Like, can you share some of the wins you've already seen?
Absolutely. That is my favorite part. I mean, I will say my cup is full right now because I just these stories keep coming at me every single day. So, first and foremost, everybody who joins diversity, their first reaction always inevitably is, oh my God, I didn't know so many of us existed, right? And just to watch that reaction is just precious. So, someone recently got promoted to a VP role at a large public company. And she literally slacked me and said, oh my God, it is so great to have this community. I recently became a VPE and I'll need the support from my sisters. Another member, she hasn't even been very active at all within the community. She reached out to me out of the blue. She's currently a director and she's negotiating a role for a VP at a large public company, and she wanted to know what she should negotiate from a package standpoint. I gave her some advice. I connected her with another member who got on the phone with her the same evening, gave her some great advice, and she was able to successfully negotiate a great package for herself. And then she wrote back to me saying, it's amazing to have a high power network like diversity because this is the network that we women have not had, and men, just by definition, just by default, have at their fingertip. And I think my most favorite story, and that goes to the title of this podcast as well. So, at the end of one of our events, one of the attendees, she felt safe enough to be vulnerable to share with us that she had left tech. And she essentially had left tech because of her toxic workplace. And she's like, I'm done. I'm not going back. Immediately, myself and the panelists, quickly chatted with her. We also chatted with her individually, with her offline. I mentored her for a period of time to the extent that, and we connected her with a variety of different resources, including a volunteer coach that we have within the community. And we got to the point where we restored her faith in tech. She mustered enough courage to start interviewing again. And today she is back in tech and she's a director of engineering at a local startup. That is how we retain women in tech.
That is an amazing story. I love how just in the short amount of time diversity has been around, it has already been so impactful.
Yeah, it's been really, really amazing doing this. And I share with everybody that I've built some amazing product, worked at amazing companies, but this is the most gratifying job that I've ever had.
And how many people are a part of this community right now?
We have grown really fast. So we are just a year in, and we're still 100% curated. So everybody who joins has to meet our criteria of being a people leader in the field of engineering and tech. And we are upwards of, I think, 900 today. So very exciting.
Yeah, it's really close to meeting the 1,000 member milestone. We should celebrate when that happens.
Yes, we really should. It's a big party.
Hey, we can have another party at my house.
Yes, totally. This time we'll do a barbecue for real.
Yes, hopefully it won't be almost 100 outside when we get together.
I know the community also has, beyond the Slack channels that are available, there are a number of programs. I'm a part of the mentorship program that was set up and finding a ton of value in being both a mentor and a mentee.
Jordan, did you know that studies show that in a 6-month mentor-mentee relationship, even the 25% of the mentors saw a pay increase?
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is how much benefit, even monetarily, that is how much benefit even a mentor derives from that kind of a relationship.
What are some of the other programs that you've run with diversity?
So, we know that we're catering to a busy audience. So we try to meet our women wherever they are. So that's one of the reasons why we run a variety of different programs. So the crux of the community is fundamentally the Slack community where everybody hangs and they chat with each other, they get to know each other and build deep connections. Outside of that, some of the programs we offer are the towards career acceleration are the one-on-one mentorship program. Just in the last 6 months, we've made over 150 pairs. So that's 300 women and non-binary engineering leaders participating in our program in just the last 6 months. We offer acceleration programs. So 2 acceleration programs we launched in spring of this year. One is Management Accelerator, geared towards you becoming a kick-ass EM. And the second one, this is the harder one, where once you become a great manager, how do you cross the chasm and become a great leader? So these were multi-week, the 5 to 7 week intensive programs that we opened up to our community. Everything that we do is free, so these programs are free as well. Highly oversubscribed. For our cohorts, we could only take 15 people, and we had over 50 members apply to get in. And overall program rating of both of these, 5 out of 5. That's how successful they were. The third thing we run is expert series where some of our community members will lead certain workshops. Jossie is intimately familiar with this. She leads the DE&I workshop. Another one of our members, she led a workshop on how to build your executive presence. And last but not the least, we also share opportunities with each other. So we are a tight community. So somebody reaches out to me for a role, I'm not interested, I'll share that with others so that somebody else can, avail of it. So tons of stuff we do today, and we of course do like bi-monthly events. So we do typically a Slack AMA, which is a Slack-based event for our members, and one panel discussion, which is typically very real talk, action-oriented event to help our members deal with, whatever topical issues are of their day or their career journey.
That's an amazing amount of value that you're providing, Nidhi.
Thank you. Yes, it's exciting. And my focus first and foremost is impact. So impact always trumps growth. And my philosophy has been if there's enough impact, growth will follow. And I'm just so happy to see that that's actually happening in real life.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be a part of this community and to serve as a role model for our next generation. And I want to take our conversation on a slightly different path right now, especially as we're talking about the next generation. With the Supreme Court revoking women's rights to abortion in the US, what do you see our role as leaders in the tech industry?
Oh gosh, I think it's still really raw. I will say that. But emotions aside, as I think all of us were reeling from this ruling and potentially such devastating rulings to come, I came across this tweet by Melinda Gates. And I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember it verbatim. And essentially, what she said is, we are not equal until we're all equal. We've heard that phraseology before. But fundamentally, we all need to fight for the rights and voices of women, whether it's in the courtroom or the boardroom or in our meeting rooms. And I think that is the role for everybody in tech, including our allies who are voicing and who are aghast at this ruling, that the work doesn't just start and stop at the court. The work starts at home. It translates into our when we are in the workplace, and then it goes into higher offices like representation in the government and Supreme Court, right? So I think, especially for women leaders, it is, we can't stop. We know that we have to fight for our equal rights and our equal place on the executive table as well as in terms of our rights. So I would say we all need to continue to speak up. We all need to continue to participate. We all need to fight what's rightfully ours and bring our allies and inspire our allies to be with us and support us in this journey.
Absolutely. And I completely agree. I think this is something that we need to keep fighting for and taking action. I think in the past there's been times when issues have come up and I've talked about it, I've advocated for it, and then, a year goes by, 2 years go by, and it feels back to business as usual. But I feel like we need to be taking action here and finally changing things, hopefully for the better.
Yep. And I think, we just become complacent. Even though we've heard so much about Roe v. Wade, I honestly don't think that most of us thought that this could actually happen, but it happened. So I think it's, in many ways, it's a stark reminder that we cannot take our rights for granted until they are actually sealed, signed into law.
Absolutely. And I think it's also really telling that a very small but loud minority can really have a huge impact on everybody. And I think with this recent ruling, it's a big reminder to ourselves, like, we need to be going out there and sharing our voices too.
Yep, 100%.
So we've talked about a couple of different things here, and I thought to end our episode, we like to share a retaining wit tip of the week. So, is there a piece of advice that you'd like to share with our audience?
So I think, similar to what we were talking about with regards to Roe v. Wade, I think build your community and lean on your community. Like I said at the top of the conversation, we're all very busy. I think through the course of my career, I've never focused on building a network for myself. And I think we as women, we're just used to powering through no matter what, typically tend to not be vulnerable and lean on others. I don't think that is a great way for you to rise and fast. There are women around you who are willing to help you. There are people around you who are willing to help you. You just have to reach out. So I'll give you an example. This one time I was looking for a job and I happened to meet with one of my former engineers. And my former engineer, he looked at me and he's like, "Oh, are you looking for a job right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." He's like, "But wait, why have I never heard from you? You have not reached out to me to connect you with anybody. You haven't reached out to me to even tell me that you're looking for a job." And I was like, well, but I didn't want to impose on you. I didn't want you to feel the burden of introducing me to somebody. And he's like, I'm just making the connection. That's all I'm doing. All you have to do is, hey, I saw you connected to person A. Can you please make the intro? And that's about it. It's as simple as that. But many women are like me and we overthink it. So create your support structure, feel free to reach out and lean on those around you, and lean on communities like Divhersity. Every single woman who reaches out to anybody else on Divhersity gets help. I am yet to see somebody get turned away or their request go silent. This is how willing these communities are to help you further your journey. So all you have to do is just ask and reach out.
Absolutely. And, one of the things I tell women just getting into the tech industry is that networking is so, so crucial and invaluable because, especially as we go up in our careers, we are the only ones in the room a lot of the time. And so we need networks like this. So we have the support system that men might naturally have because they have other people who look like them at their workplaces.
Yep. And I have some amazing stories of women just randomly reaching out of the blue, and either, by virtue of that, getting a pay raise or getting their next VP job, or actually just staying in tech.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that little bit of advice for all of us. I think I learned quite a bit from it, and I hope our audience has as well. So thanks for joining us on Retaining WIT. If folks would like to connect with you or learn more about Divhersity, how can they reach out to you?
They can just simply go to divhersity.com, and if they would like to get in touch with me, they can reach out on either through our Join Us form on our divhersity.com website, or they can connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you both, ladies. Love your podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Retaining WIT podcast. You can keep up with our latest episodes at retainingwit.com, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast shows.